Right, hello again boys and girls. A couple of weeks ago or so I was up here on the Berwyns and I went to the location of a military air crash in 12th of February 1982. It flies. I got there, but just as I did arrive, the heavens opened, and if I just pan round here you can see the sort of terrain, and just where I'm pointing now up that valley there is where the plane crashed, and that's where I'm headed now. So when it rains out here you get caught out, you get wet, and by the time I got back down into Llandrillo, which is nearly 4 miles from that point, I was absolutely drenched. But the weather's improved and the opportunity arose today, so I thought I'd seize the moment and pop up here. I've brought a metal detector with me, and I've got the grid reference of this crash. I'm hoping that the MOD was telling the truth when I got it through an FOI a few years ago. So we'll see. But we'll head up there. I'll just poke about. I'm just going to quarter the area with the metal detector, swing it close to the floor, and maybe hopefully drop on this site if it's not blatantly obvious. It was only a small aircraft, and from what I can gather it flew straight into the hillside, so the actual mark it made would have been quite small. And it was 1982, so it's 42 years ago now. So the vegetation's had plenty of time to grow over it, but we'll see. So I'll just go up here for interest and find a few bits and pieces. It was just bits, literally, because the plane was removed. That would be nice. So I'll just pan round again. I'm heading in that direction, dropping down into the valley there. So I've got about another 1.5 miles to go. A bit warm today. It's a place of extremes with the weather. This, it's either too cold or too warm. It's taken me slightly longer to get here today. Just on 3 hours to cover just 4 miles. That's how bad it is underfoot. I've come up this stream here. A good foot underneath me now. There's my gear, got the metal detector ready, headphones there. It's map reference there. And on the map, you can see that. Get out the sun. There. Yeah, it's probably about 200 yards ahead of me now upstream, and according to the grid reference, it's on the left hand side of the stream as I'm looking up. So there's the stream there, over there. So what I'm going to do is a quick swig of tea, and then I'm going to walk up there about 500 yards. There's another stream up there coming down, and you can see from there, just where my thumb is there, find it again, there's a stream there coming down, and I'm just a little bit there now, maybe under that number 5, and if you go along a bit there's another stream, and it's between the two and on that bank. I'm not quite sure actually what direction this guy was coming in from. He was in fog, this student pilot, and looking at the terrain, the only thing I've got to go on is the honesty of the Air Force and giving me that grid reference. This stream's Nantascarii. and going up there at the back there, the summit of Cader Berwyn. I'm going to have a swig of tea, and then I'm just going to walk up there, maybe as far as the next stream, and sort of move over 10 yards, come back, and I'm just going to quarter this hillside here. It might be a complete waste of time. If there's so few bits left, I might even miss them. So we'll see what there is to see. Lovely clean water, that stream there. Icy cold and all. It's what you want on a hot day like this. Just brought myself 2 litres bottle of water up. That was empty when I got here. And I've just topped it up. And just dropped the water purification tablet in it. The water is quite clean. Drunk from all these streams over the years. It's once sheep start moving up, and they have been putting them up on the hills now, there's a lot of them being sheared. Once they start crapping and peeing everywhere, bacteria does build up in the water a little bit. I've only ever managed to poison myself once in my entire life. It was my own fault when I was an errant teenager, so I probably deserved it. That's that other stream I mentioned. It's done by on the map. So according to the information supplied by the RAF, that stream there and that stream there comes down that gully. It's about 500 yards apart. If the information is correct, that crash site is here somewhere. I'm just trying to imagine the this little plane coming in the mist. Because when I'm stood here, if it was to crash into the hillside here, he couldn't have come over that rise there. Otherwise it'd have crashed on that side. If he came over the rise there and crashed into the land here, he'd be losing altitude. And I'm not sure there was any belief in that person's mind that he was actually losing altitude. I think he just flew straight into the hillside. Which means by some chance he might have actually been coming up the valley here. Crash somewhere here. They insist that, well, they've suggested anyway, that these 2 points, I think he'd be very lucky not to hit any other hillside if he was to crash here. It's quite a narrow band, so there's scant detail about this crash. The accident report's very sparse on detail. He just was overdue after the 45 minutes sortie, and he was told by the weather was closing in to change his course, but he didn't. So I presume he stuck to his original planned course. Somehow ended off that slightly, because he would have been passing over the Berwyns, I imagine, or at least around them. He ended up coming into them. So all I can do now is just potter about here and see what there is to see. On the subject of aliens and things like that, there's quite a few interesting looking insects on this planet, and this is one of my favourites actually. Here we go. This is a a dung beetle. Charming little creatures. They go about and quite useful, breaking up animal dung, and they oops, come back up. Got down into the vegetation now. Come up. Here we go. Got him again. Yeah, they roll up dung and bury it and lay their eggs in it and all sorts of things. Beautiful violet blue colour underneath. I'll have to pick it up. Let them go. Now, according to the grid reference I've got, and you measure a grid reference in 1/10 of a mile. It was ordnance survey maps that were in miles in the days of this crash rather than kilometres. That gully's there, and the grid reference puts the crash. There's another gully there just by where that white grass is. According to the grid reference, that crash site is across that side of the stream and on that hillside there. I've quartered over quite a bit of it now, no sign of anything, but where that white line is of grass there, once you go beyond that white line there, you're well beyond the grid reference area. A tenth of a mile, it's only 170 yards. So that little grid that makes up the larger square mile grid, it's less than 200 yards in each direction, which is about 50 by 100, it's about 3 or 4 acres or something like that. But if the information's accurate, it must be between that stream there that comes out by the white grass, and that line of white grass up there. But of course, I've just come 4 miles here. I was here a couple of weeks ago. But 4 miles up, 4 miles down. Got drenched last time with the rain, really heavy rain, of course, out here in the middle of nowhere. And all you're doing is relying on the integrity of the military. But I'm looking at the geography of all this now. Now, given the coordinates I was given, the grid reference, I fail to see how anyone could crash on this hillside. Behind me, it's higher ground, and that over there is even higher ground, and it's steep. So in order to crash on this slope just below me here, the plane coming over that rise, for instance, I'm not sure the direction it was going in, would have to be descending rapidly, and they would have to miss that ridge up there. Likewise on this side, not so steep, but in order to crash down there, it would have to come in quite steep, descending, and the chances are if it was coming this way, it would crash into that side beyond the stream. It seems very unlikely it was coming down from the summit way. Again, it would have, because of the nature of the ground, if it did crash, it probably would have crashed over quite a large area. And the only other option really is it came in from that direction. Now I'm thinking to myself, what are the odds in poor weather conditions that the pilot couldn't see very far, that he somehow managed to get into this narrow valley here without actually striking the sides there and coming to grief there. I'm not too sure about this grid reference I've got now. As I'm beginning to doubt it. I'd say this lone post was in the middle of nowhere. It might very well be 40 years old. Judging by the lichens that are growing on it, yeah. So I'm just going to poke about here for a few minutes. Right, ladies and gents, I'm making my way up onto the Berwyns again. I'm trying to improve on the last trip I made here. Some years ago I filed an FOI to the Ministry of Defence in relation to a military air crash up on the Berwyns here, the 12th of February 1982. A student pilot got himself killed. He basically flew the plane into the mountain, not far below the summit of Cader Berwyn really. And to get there it's pretty much a 4-mile hike across country. I've just come up this path here behind me through the woods here, out of the village of Llandrillo, and I'm heading up that way. So I've got about another 2.5 miles to go. But I came up here one particular day, but the weather was awful, drenched, no shelter. That was a write-off. I was just having a bit of a mooch on that time. The second time I went up to the location where I'd been given the grid reference of this plane crash. I took my metal detector. I've got a metal detector again with me today, and found nothing. And I got very, very suspicious about the place where it was. So I filed another FOI. I'm not sure if the Ministry of Defence looked up whether I'd filed an FOI previously, but this time they supplied some photographs of the crash site, and I know these hills quite well now. I've spent hours and hours and hours walking over them, camping up here, in pursuit of things that might lead clues towards the Berwyn UFO crash in the 23rd of January 1974. And as soon as I saw these photographs I knew exactly where it was. And in fact the grid reference I was given, I'm not saying it was bogus, but it was 800 yards out, 900 yards out, and a lot higher than where the grid reference said the plane crash was. So I had 2 aborted missions really, wasted time really. So I'm having a third go now, and I'm going to exactly where I know these pictures were taken, all black and white ones. Looking at Google Earth, I think I can even see the size of the impact. You wouldn't know it otherwise. It's only a few square yards. I imagine it was a bit of a fireball, because there would have still been like half a tank of fuel in the plane, that type of thing. It was only a 45-minute sortie, and roughly halfway into that, they lost radio contact, the pilot. Anyway, that's another story. The reason I'm interested in this, I'm not particularly interested in going to crash sites of military aircraft. That's a different subject matter altogether. But I'm interested in this particular crash because I gained other information in the past about the recovery crew, the RAF team that recovered the wreckage and the pilot's body. I got some information about a guy who billeted them in an outhouse, and the RAF rented that off him, and he looked after the guys. And when they'd all sort of finished using his property a bit later, they presented him with a copy of a big helicopter which was hanging on the wall in the house. They showed me that. I went to visit them. That house was called Nant, which is halfway along the road out of Llandrillo that way. It comes to a dead end, and then the road becomes a rough track, still a byway, and it goes up onto the B4391 over there, the road that Pat Evans was on when she saw the the object on the side of the hillside. I was interested in the crash mainly because the debunkers mercilessly used that crash as an excuse to try and rubbish the locals, because there was a military presence. The claims were that the people living locally confused their idea that there was a military presence on the night of the Berwyn crash with the military presence, the overt military presence of recovering this small plane. One skeptic or debunker, call them what you will, went to extraordinary lengths to try and lie. He actually physically lied about the nature of the plane, saying it was top secret, and that justified the military presence to recover it and all this sort of business. And it simply wasn't true. It was a bog standard plane. There wasn't even a black box on it. It was about as basic as you could get. The student pilot only had radio contact with base, and that was it. Nothing else in the plane other than a fuel tank type thing. So as I say, he went to extraordinary lengths to try and rubbish the locals by using this crash in 82 to subvert the event in 74. So I'm going up there now, and the soil's very shallow. There's hardly any soil in place at all, just rock and a bit of heather. The soil's only a few inches deep, and I'm just going to potter about with the metal detector to see if there's any fragments. All the big stuff was removed by hand and also by helicopter. The big pieces were taken away and put on a lorry and carted off. There was some talk that it was taken to Corwyn. I'd heard that story several times, and they loaded into onto lorries there and taken away. But that turned out to seem that was bogus and all. But having traced that story started, it was disinformation that was started by skeptics. That it's just another attempt to throw people off the trail. The plane parts were actually put on the lorries when they moved a lot nearer to the crash site than Corwyn. So as I say, I'm going to head up there now. It's I've been on a bit of a track at the moment, but you get an idea of the terrain here. I've just come through that wood there. Not supposed to come through the wood, but I don't worry about stuff like that. I civil trespass regularly. If I just zoom in there, over the, so I can capture it, that's the summit of Cader Berwyn up there. There's a cairn on the top there, and that plane crash site, you can see it in this. There's a bit of sun glare on the lens of it. This hill right in front of me here, this hill slope, this green hill slope, the top of it. In the background you can see the cairn on some Cader Berwyn, but as the slope comes down sort of that way, you see it forms a V with another hill slope behind it, and that hill slope comes down there like that. Just down there is an old sheepfold there, a corlan, and I've got to go this way and circle round to where that little corlan is, and then there's a path that's been worn now in more recent years, goes up that ridge line, makes its way to the summit of Cader Berwyn. I'll be going up that slope there, and where it starts to get a bit wild with there's a little bit of a quarry on the other side of that slope, so I'm bypassing that, dropping down into the valley behind and going up, and you can't really see it from here, but where I suppose you can a bit, where that header just sort of starts in the background, you can see a bit of a circular header line with some streaks down it in green in between. Perhaps that's below that is roughly where the plane crashed. So I'm heading for that way. It's another 2 miles yet. So I'd say I can't go straight across here because it's a bog. Be up to my eyeballs in mud. As I say, there's nothing up here. and at the moment I might very well be alone. Sure, being it's a Saturday today, so I'm sure I'll see one or two people in the distance a bit later. So this is the sort of terrain that we're dealing with. It's very remote. You can get about these days, a lot of it on a quad bike. If you had one, but it's all rough grazing. It's all part of a national nature reserve as well, Berwyn National Nature Reserve. A lot of rare plants and invertebrates over here, that sort of stuff. I finally got here. It's quite a trek today. It's a bit longer than normal for some reason. Maybe I'm just getting old. This stream here, one of the feeder streams that collectively run down there to a much bigger stream, and this little valley is called Nantascarii. And just note that junction there, the two streams. You can see them quite clearly on Google Earth and maps and things. What I'm going to do is, this is that round area I mentioned before, which I pointed out in the distance. Now, according to the images I've got of the Ministry of Defence, if I just go around there, if I go near the top, you can maybe just see the water glistening a little bit up there. It sort of runs off the moorland up above. This outline of the heather above the grassy area sort of reminds me of the southeast coast of Asia, and that little sort of zoom in there a bit. Let me go pick it up. Can't even see what I'm looking at in the viewfinder at the moment. It reminds me of the Korean peninsula sticking out of China. But I'll zoom out. That line of heather which comes to an abrupt end, it's basically remained unchanged since 1982. And when I got the images, I recognised it straight away because I knew this particular patch. But also, there's a little gully over there, and I was that's where I was last time, the bottom of that gully, and I was searching this hillside above here because that's where the grid reference was. But in fact, according to the images I've got, the crash site is up there. So I'm going up there now. It's going to take me about 10 minutes. Some patch of gorse there, or looks like gorse or heather from here. Two patches. That's very distinctive on the on Google Earth and the original footage, the original photographs. So the crash site's on the edge of the heather up there. So I'm going to go up there with the metal detector, just potter about. I'll walk the heather line, and if there's any little bits anywhere, the metal detector should pick them up okay. There's hardly any soil, and I have just noticed on this occasion I forgot to bring my bloody headphones. That doesn't matter. There'd be a problem if I was looking for something in deep soil, but there's hardly any soil here. So we're only looking at something 2 or 3 inches down at the most, and even after all this time, probably still on the surface. So I'm not expecting to find anything exciting. Maybe a few nuts and bolts, a bit of fuselage perhaps, but we'll see. I'll set off now. The sheep have very obligingly pushed through the bushes and the sedges here. So crude, but nonetheless useful pathways through this bracken. It's a very difficult terrain. I measured this distance last night from that stream junction up to where the images said the debris was, and 400 yards. So it shouldn't take too long to get there. I know, could do without all this foliage. bit breezy up here now. Just down there is a bit of my gear down there. I've walked up here, treacherous underfoot, hole after hole sinking into them. Really difficult. It took me about half an hour to get up here. It's only about 400 yards. It's a bit breezy, but most unexpectedly found that. John Macbeth, US Navy, born July the 15th, 1953, died February the 12th, 1982, Berwyn Mountain, Wales, rest in peace. Interestingly, all the stuff I've read and managed to glean about this crash, I didn't see a single mention anywhere of this tree doesn't help. Mention anywhere of a memorial marking the spot. So that was quite good. Very unexpected to find that. Nowhere had I seen any mention of a memorial marker, but the bit of gear of mine there. It's along here, this patch here where the plane crashed. Down there, that's header there is one of the patches, and further over there's another patch, and the scrape was just above that, so it's on the line here. So I'm just going to walk along here and just see where the spot. I think it's actually probably this. You'll see. Oh. I've just cast the metal detector about just here, and there's multiple signals all over the place. You wouldn't expect to get a single metallic signal anywhere in a place like this unless it was gold. Maybe a bit of lead, or you can set discrimination on metal detectors so you can get rid of ferrous metal. If you've got a lot of iron in the ground, it gives all sorts of false readings. Ferrous, of course, but I'm just leaving this about, and it's signals all over the place. Piece of fuselage there. It's only bits. Say all the big bits were like being cleaned up, but yeah, I'll collect a few more. They're only down a couple of inches. There. Good thing about this is all these bits are actually on the surface. The grass has just grown over them. So, bit of fuselage there. This whole site here, there's signals every few inches. There's still quite a lot of debris here, although it's only very, very small bits. I've just been thinking to myself now about that memorial. I'm beginning to doubt myself now. I've pondered it. It also looks familiar. I think maybe I might have seen an image of it in the past, but a long, long time ago. If it was. But at the moment, my stance is I haven't seen any reference to a memorial. Interestingly, this little spruce tree here. It's a bit windswept. There are odd trees scattered around the walls. There's one over there, just below the ridge line there. This next hill. There's quite a few. There's one in the very, very distance up there, about a mile away. The sea found a way up here and managed to beat the sheep and survive. That tree there could be as old as the crash. That said, it's just a bit of a coincidence. It's also next to that little mountain, so maybe someone planted that. It's a tree that would grow in this terrain. It's a very, very harsh terrain for trees. As you can see, there's not much of them. And conifers do survive if they're protected from the sheep. But this round area here is the impact site. Skipped over this with the metal detector all round here. There's little signals, small bits of metal every few inches. So now I know where this spot is. At a later date, won't be this year. No need to come back now. Because someone obviously lost their life here, I won't desecrate the site. I've got a few little bits and that's good enough for me. I will come back though. Quick once over. I don't want to disturb it too much. It's not an official site where you're not supposed to dig anything up or anything, but it's nice to know that that little memorial was there anyway. So that's the terrain anyway. So I'll head back down now to where I've got my other stuff stashed. I've a mouthful of tea, and then I'll make my way back. It's about 2 hours down to Llandrillo from here. It took me nearly 3 getting up here, and it took me another nearly half an hour just to get that 500 yards or so, 400 yards to here. It's treacherous down there. Slightly easier going down. So this is the site of the air crash on the 12th of February 1982.